Oh my God. Resolute. Yes. Listening. Wow. Curious. Yeah. Curious about what's about to come. Motivated. Oh my God. They're coming so fast. I can't read them all, but they're so good. Hopefully, people are seeing what's in the chat. This is amazing. So, let me just say one more time. My name is Reverend Paul, and my name is the long of it is Reverend Paul Brandeis Rauschenbusch. I'm a Baptist minister. I'm an interfaith leader. I'm the president of Interfaith Alliance, and we're so glad to be with you tonight. I'm going to be your host. I promise I will not be too Baptist ministry and talk too much, but I am really excited to welcome all of you here tonight. So let me kind of just dive in. I think we're ready to go. The goal of this training, the goal is to empower and support each and every one of you in having impactful conversations with your friends, your family, communities about No Kings. We want you to feel confident in having conversations with your loved ones about what No Kings is, why it's for all people who don't want to be ruled by a king, why they should join you at your No Kings event, why it matters to take action now, and really the vision of America that we're fighting for together. So we want to be clear right now up front. This training is not about a script. We are not scripting everything perfectly or trying to make you sound like the robot that is doing the line for No Kings. We want you to come in authentically as yourself with your personal values as your North Star and effectively discuss No Kings with your loved ones and your broader network. I come to No Kings really, again, out of a commitment to my faith tradition, which is rooted in this idea of freedom. Freedom for my own soul to be expressed however I want to be free to express it, and the real promise of America that was made in the First Amendment that we would not establish a religion and that we would allow free exercise. This is one of the best things that America offered the world. I come to it with that in my heart, but also with this idea of loving our neighbor. Like, I have this desire to build an America. Dr. King, who is a Baptist minister as well as a visionary and civil rights, he talked about the beloved community, and that's what I feel like I'm a part of when I do No Kings. I feel like I'm continuing a strand of American democracy that is building a future that really does include everyone, where everyone belongs, where everybody has dignity, where everybody is with equity and inclusion and love. And so this comes deep for me. And it also, frankly, it comes out of my patriotism. Like, I really believe that America can be better than we are right now. And I see a future of that. And so that is like really like my inner conviction. But each one of you has that inner conviction. We all have that in our hearts or in our souls or whatever you want to call this place that I'm pounding right now. But it's we all have it in us. And so identifying that and coming out of that place of hope and invitation and also vision for a future that includes everyone. I'm really eager for all of us to encounter the skills to build that tonight. So we have an exciting speaker for you and then an amazing training. Before we go any further, I want to invite Kate, who's one of the dream team from the training team, to review some housekeeping right now. So Kate, would you come on?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Reverend Paul. And can I see some emojis in the chat? Because wow, what a great way to start off this training. I feel so lucky to be here with the thousands of you that are here. You can see it in the chat and in the emojis that we're seeing on the screen. You can feel it in us. We are days away. And so just real quick to get into the housekeeping, remember, y'all, there are thousands of us here. This is a public call, so just be thoughtful about what you're putting into the chat. You don't want to give any identifying information that you're not ready for everyone and their mother to see. Next, it always comes up and I get it, but I promise you're going to get a follow-up email with the recording and all of the materials we talk about tonight so that you can go out and have this to look back on or to share with a friend when you want to start having more conversations about No Kings. Also, use that Q&A. There's so much going on in the chat. You've got the options to use Q&A and to upvote other people's questions to make sure we are responding to the top questions that you all have for us. We're going to do Q&A during this training and then also at the end. Lastly, this is a place to respect each other. We all come from all backgrounds and all walks of life. Like Reverend Paul was saying, this is a place for us to come together, proud and in community. So with that, I know there's a lot of controversy around emojis, and I know that I just asked for a bunch of them. So if that wasn't your thing, you can go ahead and go in and you can hide emojis. If you go to that reaction, you can click where it goes to hidden, and then they will disappear from you and you can focus in a different way. Also, if you're someone who likes to have captions on so you can read the materials that we're talking through, amazing. Go ahead and click on show captions. It's going to be near that react button. We also have a button for Q&A if this is a new thing to use for you. And that upvote button I was talking about, that'll be on each of the questions. And you're all already doing it, but just make sure you're chatting with everyone. We as hosts and panelists are going to be focused on the Q&A section, but we want the chat to be a place for community. So go ahead and make sure you're chatting with everyone while you're in there. Thanks for the time, Reverend Paul. I'm going to hand it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much. And now it is my honor to introduce a speaker. Before we launch into the training, I have the pleasure of introducing Jess Craven. Jess Craven is an activist, an organizer, and a political content creator. She is the author of Chop Wood, Carry Water, Daily Actions, and she wanted you all to know that she is a longtime Indivisible member. So Jess, thank you so much for joining us tonight and bringing your particular skills and wisdom to this conversation. Take it away.
Thank you, Reverend Paul. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. It is so good to be here. What an honor to be speaking on an Indivisible call. I was an Indivisible member before I was basically anything else. So I've been with Indivisible the whole time in one way or another. So thank you for having me, everybody. Indivisible team, thank you for hosting. And wow, it's so amazing to see so many people here. So for those of you who don't know me, I write a daily action newsletter on Substack called Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's about taking basic actions to get through difficult times. That's really the meaning of the title. And I share very basic little actions in all things activism, elections, with anybody who subscribes, anybody who reads. I do it on social media as well in short videos. And again, totally thrilled to be here with you tonight. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of how to effectively discuss No Kings with our friends, our families, our neighbors, I want to take a minute to ground us in why we are here and why the way we talk about No Kings matters so much. So I started my newsletter because, like so many of you, I was devastated, broken after the 2016 election, and I needed something to do. I am a doer. I needed an action. I'm a mom. My activism really ratcheted up when my kid was born. They were 5 when Donald Trump was elected the first time. They are now 16. They identify as non-binary now, so I have a trans kid on top of everything else. I really wanted to and still want to make sure that they have a livable, safe future. Climate has also always been a huge issue for me. So climate, trans issues, an economy that they can actually survive in and get a job in, all of those things. So we all know that the news is very terrifying and exhausting right now. So just like you, I wake up, I immediately look at all my news sources, and there's a lot of them, and it is a lot. But I realized very early on in my activism that if I just tell people how bad it is, kind of scream terrifying news at them, that is actually not motivating. That does not actually make people act. And I often talk about the people who sort of will watch like MSNBC or whatever it's called now, MS Now, and just get more and more upset, but not actually do something. And it's a real phenomenon because the bad news can really freeze us. So, what I have learned in my own activism is that I am better off talking about how action has made a difference and why I am taking action. And so, that why for me, which again for me is very much grounded in my kid, the other children who I love in my life, kids who I don't even know, who I care so deeply about, and my sort of vision for a livable planet, like those are all part of my why. And so when I talk to people, when I come from a place of, look, this is why this is so important to me. I have a trans kid. They are so great. Their name is MJ. A couple of things about them, talk to them, really making them a human part of why I care so much. That really transforms the conversation because pretty much everybody can identify with, even if they don't have a kid themselves, knowing a child that they love and care deeply about. And then the other part of that is letting people know that when I do something, I feel better. That doing something is the antidote to the anxiety we are all struggling with. And that going to something like No Kings will actually fill me with a new sense of purpose, power, hope, joy. And so it is really like a selfish action for me if I want to feel better to go. And then finally, the last thing I'll say on that is I like to try to remind people that although we each feel individually very small, it is by putting together a bunch of small actions that we can change the world, change the future. And I often use the metaphor of little drops of water, that we're each like a little drop of water. And yeah, every drop alone it's nothing, totally inconsequential. But when you put enough drops together, that's when you can start to carve stone. But if everybody says, oh, I'm just one drop, I'm not showing up, you don't carve anything. So if we want to make the kind of seismic change that we need to make, we all need to come together, show up, and bring our little bit to create seismic change. And so, and always going back to that why. What do I love? What is the love that is leading me to this action? So to get other people to see our perspective, and if we want them to help us, we got to also meet them where they are. We can't just talk to our exhausted neighbors using political jargon or by reciting a list of constitutional violations. I like to talk to them about our shared humanity, and then we can use our platforms in person or online to continue that conversation. I actually talked to my actual neighbors last week about this, and they're aligned. Oh yeah, Trump's going to try to steal the election, but they've never gone to an action before. And I was able to say, I hear how much anxiety you have. Are you going to a No Kings protest? And you could see the sort of, well, we don't, the fear, the uncertainty. And I was able to say, you will feel so much better and it will make a difference. I hear that you want a free and fair election. You love this country. And by showing up, that is an act of love for our country. And the more of us who are out there, I know you feel like you probably don't make a difference, but everybody there, literally everybody does. And the bigger it is, the more Republicans and Trump will start to go, ooh, I don't know. Americans do look like they're pretty set against this. So talking to my neighbors one on one, acknowledging that they were scared, meeting them where they are, giving them a sense of like, oh, I know you're afraid there's going to be tear gas and ice. That doesn't happen at these protests. That's really fun. There's dogs and kids and music. You could see them relaxing and considering maybe going. So that's how I approach it. Really talking to people about what's the why for you? What is the thing you are fighting for that you feel so passionate about? Is it because you care about your kids? Is it because you believe in community care? Is it because you want to afford groceries? Maybe you're worried about the elections coming up. Is it the war? Is this an anti-war protest for you? If so, that's great too, because we all love peace. Well, not all, most of us. Anyway, I will just close by saying that the algorithm really wants us to be outraged and terrified and divided, but storytelling, connecting on a heart to heart level, really vulnerable sometimes. I worry so much for my kid, and I know that you love my kid too. Maybe you could show up for my kid, things like that. That's how we build power. So tonight, as we go through this training, I want you to really hold on to and sort of zoom in on your personal why, because that is the absolute most powerful messaging tool you have. And that can really move mountains, especially if we all bring our personal why to this fight. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everything you have already done and everything that you are going to do. I know this is hard, but I have so much admiration and respect for everybody on this call and so much gratitude. Because of you, we're going to win. And with that, I will pass it back to Paul to lead us into tonight's training.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jess. Major heart. And just I was thinking like, yeah, that when we talk about love our neighbor, it's really an action. It involves speaking it, involves showing up, it involves like a posture of curiosity and invitation. And so that was so rich. And we thank you so much for all you're doing and helping giving us hope and imagining a future together. So thank you. Um, Tonight, we are about ready to kick off the training, and we have some superstar trainers for you. We have Unic, the communications lead for No Kings, and I have known her since the very first No Kings. Let me tell you, like the way the message gets out there about No Kings, that happens intentionally. Unic is amazing. And Kate, who is from the No Kings training team, and that has been a huge part of it. I just want to say one thing. I had an honor of talking to John Lewis before he died. He was a civil rights activist before he was a congressman, and he said no one went to the civil rights without being trained first. So the what training that Kate has been involved in and that all the No Kings great folks have been involved in is essential for what we're doing. So we're gonna go and let's go. Take it away, Kate and Unic, and help us get trained up for this moment.
Thank you so much, Paul. And I'll just pop in right here. I want to quickly answer an early question that has come up often. Someone put in the chat, I do meet people who are against what is going on and will not go to but will not go to a No Kings rally. This is so frustrating and confusing. And this is a question, folks of all walks of life either go to No Kings or don't go to No Kings. And listen, everyone comes along in their time. Of course, you do not stop authoritarianism by quietly disapproving of it to yourself. You stop it by showing up in public together in numbers, but public means different things in different ways. Public can be in real life or online. If your friend doesn't feel comfortable going to an O Kings, ask them, do they feel comfortable posting to their Instagram stories? Do they feel comfortable posting on Facebook? Do they feel comfortable texting a group of friends? History does not remember who said, wow, that's terrible. History remembers who stood up and made the action. And that's what's important here tonight. I'm just seeing folks saying they are already talking to media, writing op-eds in the chat, engaging on digital channels. This is incredible because if you take nothing else from this training, the number one message you can say on Saturday is the why. Why are you turning out on Saturday to participate in a No Kings protest? That is the most important story you can tell. The most important story you can tell is your own personal story. And that's why we're here tonight to talk through that message and media training of how you tell your personal story. Why are you turning out to a No Kings protest? What is driving you to join? What is driving your family, friends, and community to join? That is what's most important as we head into Saturday. So last October, over 7 million of us gathered for one of the largest single day nonviolent actions in modern history of our country. I want to pause there. That's huge. One of the most largest single day nonviolent actions. And that's because of you. That's because of all of you organizing in your communities, organizing your friends, your family, your communities, and your neighbors. That's not small. That is history making. And we did that by talking to our people. Tonight, we're going to learn how to have meaningful, values-based conversations that help us protect our neighbors, reclaim our power, and bring even more people into the fold for March 28th, this Saturday. So let's dive in. When we think about the core message and we think about what we're trying to say, America has no kings. That has been our message since day one. And the power belongs to us, the people. So, how do you say this to someone who maybe will say, like, oh, well, I don't know, we don't have kings. We have someone in the White House who's acting like one. We have someone in the White House and the administration and the Trump regime who's acting like they have absolute power. So, no matter the issue, no matter the topic, no matter what you want to talk about, the Trump regime is acting like they are a monarchy rule to this country. But America has no kings, and the power belongs to the people. And as we think about our core truths, what are the universal truths of the No Kings movement? What are the truths of what we are trying to say each and every day we move forward and we get closer to Saturday? No Kings is for everyone. There is no one that No Kings isn't for. It is for every single person out there that believes they deserve equal representation. They deserve freedoms. Whatever the issue is that you feel like you want to talk about, No Kings is for you. We all lose when a leader acts like a king instead of answering to the people. That's a truth. That is a universal truth that we can all say no matter what we're talking about. And history shows us when we stand together as a nonviolent movement, we have won over and over and over again. We have seen that since last April with even a hands-off protest around the country that had 1,400 events. We started with 1,400 events last April on April 5th for hands off. And now this Saturday, we have more than 3,200 events for this No Kings. That's not because of any one person. That's because of all of us coming collectively together to pull off what will be the largest, most historic day of mass nonviolent action together. I also want to say that history shows us when we stand together, we win. And what's your why? Here's the thing. Your friends or family don't care about an individual press release. They care about you. So how do you tell your story? Before you get into memorizing talking points, before you get into anything like that, I want you to really sit with yourself and think about the why. Why are you showing up? Deeper than just you have a great sign, which I also want to say, like, in the chat, can we talk about a little bit about what's the sign you're bringing on Saturday? I think that's going to be a really fun prompt. Put in like your favorite sign in the chat right now. What's your sign? Because that is my favorite thing about No Kings and about every mass nonviolent mobilization that has happened so far. Everyone's sign is incredible. And don't forget, front and back. If you're making a sign, make sure it's on one side and it's on the other. Don't do a one-sided sign. Make sure it's on both sides of that poster board. But put in the chat, what's your favorite sign? So before you get in about making sure your talking points or anything like that, you need to know why you're coming out. If you're talking to media or someone comes up on you and talks to you about, like, why are you here today? Think about that before you head out on Saturday. You want to understand for yourself what's actually driving you to show up. Your story is the most impactful message you can create on Saturday. There's nothing else more impactful than that. When you share your personal story, your personal heartbreak, or your hope, or what you hope to achieve for this country by the action you are taking on Saturday, ask those you're talking to and who you want to connect with your humanity, not just a political stance. Ask them and ask yourself, why are you showing up on Saturday? That's going to be the number one message you want to share. So think about this, and if you're comfortable in the chat, why do you support and show up for No Kings? What do you think your personal story is? We would love to hear about it. And what's your why? And Kate, I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you so much, Unic. And thank you to each and every one of you for being here. Your why is a foundation to these conversations. And one of the big things about it is, we hear a lot of questions about how to have impactful conversations. And the question is always like, how do I address this thing someone's saying? How do I combat this information that's wrong and false that they're talking about? And really, at the end of the day, a lot of times those questions folks ask have more to do with, oh, I'm going to use this to evaluate whether or not this feeling I have, or this feeling that I've heard about, it aligns with my values and aligns with what I've been hearing about it. And really, what aligns with people more than anything is the people that they know and their reasons for showing up. So, a lot of what we're going to talk about is why you matter to your people, why your story matters, because any question they have at the end of the day, your reason for going out is very impactful to the people that you are talking to. And it might be something that they need to chew on. It might be something that you have a conversation, they feel, wow, I never looked at it that way. That's incredible. And each person we're having a conversation with is different, right? So what I've got here for you is 4 key steps that you can take when you're having these conversations. And really, the first thing of having a conversation is listening and validating someone. At the end of the day, when we want to talk to someone and we want to make a difference, we have to make sure that they're ready and open and willing to hear us. And how do we do that? It's something we all know, but I think it helps to really just say it out loud. People feel ready and capable to listen and capable to change their minds or grow because they feel like you are open, you are willing, and you are ready to be there with them and go on this journey with them. So that's why I have these questions for you. Think about who you're talking to. Each conversation you have should be unique. Are you ready to listen? Is your mind open? Is your heart open to have the conversation with the person that you're talking to? These are not conversations that we're having with trolls who just want to antagonize us, right? These are opportunities to talk to our friends, our families, our neighbors, people that we have connections with. We're going to talk about later about protecting your peace. I really don't recommend conversations with trolls, but I don't know about any of you. I will have conversations at the dinner table with my father sometimes, and we have very different political views. And what it ends up as is me just telling him my views and all the things behind it and like why he should feel this way. And then he's having the same conversation with me going the other way. And before you know it, one of us is shut down and nothing's happening. And you know why? Because I didn't listen. I wasn't ready to listen. I wasn't ready to validate. But when one person approaches a conversation that way, you open it up for the other two as well. I remember when I asked my dad why he thought something was going on. Or when I said, what do you think about the news lately? That's my opener these days. Whenever something happens, like what's going on horrifically in our airports right now, I just ask why. What's going on? And I listen and I validate things that he's talking about. Yeah, you're right. This does feel really chaotic. Yeah, you're right. This is confusing. This is overwhelming. So even if I don't see it the same way as someone I'm talking to, I can validate where they're coming from by showing them that I'm showing up for their feelings. And that goes a world's way towards making an impactful conversation. So, hardest thing when we're passionate about something is the first thing we have to be ready to do, which is listen before we respond, right? And I say respond very specifically. We are trying to respond rather than react. And that makes a big difference. So let's keep going with this. So the first step is listen and validate. The second step is going to be to connect. What we're doing here is we're finding shared values in what someone is telling us about and how we're bringing it back to the work we do. So what is behind the questions that we get? So for example, when someone's like, oh, I just don't believe you, or this doesn't matter and this isn't making any difference, or everybody's corrupt. You want to try to look at the person you're talking to and try to find their values in one of 2 ways. One is there a value behind what they're saying that I can agree to? Or is there a value that through my relationship with them or what we were just talking about that I know they hold and I hold too, that we can come together on? So an example with that is like, oh, well, both sides are corrupt. You know what? You're listening and validating. You're like, isn't it frustrating? I hear you on the frustration. And you know what I agree on? And I think we both value a government that works for the people. And what's going on right now doesn't work. Well, look at that. That's not partisan. That's not pointing fingers in one way or the other. No Kings is about creating a democracy that works for us, right? And we get to make that connection with them around their faith. That becomes part of my why, right? I agree. What's going on right now doesn't work. And so me wanting a government that works for us is why I'm going out. It's why I'm taking action. It's why I'm taking the step to be with my neighbors, with my community, so everyone knows that we're fighting for this. So I would love to see in the chat if folks could start sharing what are some of the values that you have or your neighbors have or the people you want to talk to that you think you can agree upon when you start having these conversations. I see cheap gas, right? Financial stability is absolutely a value we have. Everyone can agree that they believe that they want financial stability. Most people can agree that we want financial stability for everyone. Everyone wants to be able to live happy, healthy lives. There's healthcare right there for you. I see it supporting my family. I want the elderly people in my life to be able to both get their medication and be able to put food on the table. I don't want them to have to choose between the two. I want a government that works for everyone. That's going to be your connection, right? So when we're finding these shared values, we are finding the self-respect, freedom, integrity. Y'all, this is incredible. So when we find these shared values, we then are basically building a vision together. I believe that my family deserves to thrive. I believe in the American dream. I believe that everyone in my life deserves to have financial security that isn't put out of place by the price of gas that they're trying to use to get to work when we have such a low minimum wage. So let's contrast it there. What's the problem? What is happening right now that we need to change to get to our vision, to make those values reflected back in the life and the world that we are looking at? That is the big place where we're able to connect. And y'all, right here, sometimes the connect and contrast, these pieces, someone might be like, I don't know, this isn't quite it for me. That's okay. Take a pause, listen to what they have to say. And then there's more, because y'all, we have so much fodder when it comes to this. We have so many different things we can talk about. So if someone isn't ready on one issue, you can find an issue that they are by really continuing to listen to them, listen to their stories, and by sharing your stories. The more this is truly a conversation of mutual respect, love, and interest and curiosity, the farther you're going to get along. So thank you all so much for being part of this and for all that you're putting into the chat. We're all getting to learn from one another, and I think that's probably the best way we can learn. So lastly, let's talk about this ask. So what's the right ask for your person? I've seen a lot of questions about what are tangible things that we can do, what are tangible things we can ask people to do. And really, you've got to be ready to find the right ask for the right person. I cannot go up to my dad, who's my example for this training, I guess, and just say, can you go out to the No Kings training in your community? I know that I'm not setting him up for success if I'm asking like that, but I know we can have conversations. And in fact, I did have this conversation with him last time around. And I said, what if you drive by your local community one? What if you check it out and see what it's like? And guess what? He came back to me and he was like, wow, that was so peaceful. There were so many more people than I thought there were going to be in my small red town. That was incredible. And they were all talking about No Kings. It wasn't this, that, or the other that Fox News tells him when he puts that channel on, right? This is an incredible opportunity to learn and grow. So ask the right question and be bold. They might surprise you. So yeah, the first thing I said was like, Dad, what if you park your car and walk over? It's okay that he said no, but I wanted to let him surprise me because plenty of times I have seen other people make asks of people that I thought would never be possible. So it's okay to allow someone to say no, give them time to think and come back to you and find the right one. Okay, what if you drive by and check it out and then decide if you want to go up and try holding a sign? What if you volunteer? Do you want to volunteer on the back end? Do you want to post on social media or why? Like Jess was just telling us, hey, can I send you a couple things that I think will relate to this for you? Or, most importantly, when can we have the next conversation? Because whatever your ask is, whatever they're going to do, if they agree they're going to come to No Kings with you, follow up, make sure they're coming to No Kings with you. If they say, you know what, I'm not ready to go, but I'd love to make a sign for people to hold, follow up, do that activity together, or to ask them for pictures of what they're making and then go pick up that sign. If it goes well, if it doesn't, y'all, this is a connection and a relationship you hold. So make sure you follow up and you continue to build that conversation, because this is what makes movements work. We come out, we protest, we do No Kings, and then we deepen our relationships in our community and the actions that we're doing there. So the next part I'm going to go into for this is handling tough questions. And you, Nick, I'd love for you to just join me for a second, because I think we have an opportunity to answer a couple of questions that are coming up in the chat that are kind of
Yeah, absolutely.
about these hard questions. And the first thing I want to remind folks is, when we're answering tough questions, I'm not going to lie, our why, your why of why you're coming out is more important than you directly answering their question. What you're seeing as the reason, your value relating to it. Somebody could be like, only asking you this question because they saw it on Fox News, it's not actually that important to me, or because someone said it one time. But when you actually connect more on a values-based level, you're more likely to get where they actually want to go with this and help them see. So absolutely, you can answer people's questions. I'm not telling you not to do that. But don't forget, those personal connections and your why matter more than having all the right answers. So, okay, I'll get off my soapbox. Eunuch, please dive us into some of the questions.
Absolutely. So some of these tough questions that you might be receiving is, as you think about what's the hardest thing you've ever had to answer? And these are things you can like figure out before you head out to Saturday. You're gonna probably have media at your event. You're probably gonna run into a reporter where you're gonna go. So how do you answer those questions? And in every single instance, if you point back to your personal story, it is a stronger answer than any question they could have ever asked. So when you're thinking about, we want to talk about how to handle potential pushbacks, or we want to talk about the protests don't even work, or we want to talk about, the both sides to this. None of that matters more than your personal story and the why you're showing out. And I want to just come back to a couple of questions that came up in the chat is like, um, what are some of the why questions we should ask if someone that put that in the chat? It can be as easy as why are you here? It's because of your kids? It's because of your parents? Because of you? Is it because of something you faced in the healthcare system? Is it because of something you faced in battling ICE in your community? Is it because of something you faced personally or something you felt personally from what's happening in this country? That's more powerful and important than anything else someone can ask you. And I want everybody to take that away tonight, because it's not necessarily about the question, it's about your story. And that's the most powerful why in any tough question you might come up against. What's motivating you to literally get up from your home and leave? I don't know about you, but I love a Saturday morning at home, and I'm going to get up from my home and I'm going to go out to my local No Kings protest, and I'm going to show up in real life because I know that's what matters. And that story of my personal why, of my wife and my kid, is what matters for me. And that's why I'm showing up on Saturday. So, Kate, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. There's another question I want to answer because it's gotten a lot of upvotes in the Q&A, and it's something I've seen in the chat a few times, and frankly, I've heard it too. So first off, I want to put up the slide about this because look, there's a lot of questions going on that are about, why are we doing 3 No Kings? Why are we doing this again? What's the difference that this makes? What is this doing? And you know what the definition of burnout is? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's doing the same thing over and over and not seeing any change. And if you are someone who's not feeling the change that is happening under No Kings, I get it. That would feel really overwhelming and exhausting. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on here. What we're doing is we are building people power across this country in order to be ready and prepared to prevent President Trump from consolidating power at the federal level and making egregious attacks. Yes, This is challenging. There is work going on. But y'all, we can look to Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, and see that when their community was under attack in the beginning of 2026, they showed up, they showed out, and they made a difference. And that is because they are so ready as a community to come together and fight. All of us are. Our nonviolent movements make a huge difference. And the more that we're out there together, the more we win. So I'm going to keep going on this, but I wanted to pause on this slide for a second because you'll notice I listened and validated. I would feel burnt out too if I was seeing it that way. I connected on the fact that we are going out here, we are doing this, that I understand that feeling. And then I'm working to contrast it because the reality is we are making a difference. And I have a few more contrasting points for you all. The second is that it is because of the power and might of the people and the reverberating impacts of coming out and showing one another, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, I'm not small. This is one of the largest movements that has ever happened in the history of our country. It is because of that, is because of all of you showing up, of us, that he has not successfully consolidated power at the federal level. That is our doing. No Kings is working. And when you look at the 3,100 hosts, we were just talking about a host that is doing, or I was just answering a question in the chat. Let me check on who it was. Diana. Diana said, I'm hosting one in my town for the first time. Yesterday, I was on a call with hundreds of people in small towns hosting their first No Kings for the first time. That is building power in every corner of our country, every small town, every city, so that when this fight shows up on our doorstep, we are connected, we are ready, and we have the tools as a nonviolent, lawful movement to come out and hold on to and build a democracy that works for all of us, not a dictator and not for kings. So really, there's so many ways to talk about this and to look at this that allows us to listen, validate, connect, contrast, and then come to the ask, which is, No Kings 3 is coming, and there's a reason for it. It is because we are making a difference. It is because our movement is growing, and the people who haven't been comfortable to come out yet need to see you because this is escalating. And it is our job to keep exercising this right we have to protest and keep showing that we can build power. And yes, there is more for us to do in actionable next steps after No Kings, but I wanted to at least start us there. So now,
I want to,
Oh, go ahead, Eunice.
I want to real quick before you go to the next slide after this one. There's a lot of conversation in the chat, and I want to like pause for a second before the conversation will lose what I'm about to put in there. We only reach critical mass, more than 3.5% that I know some people know about, when we invite our friends. And even in the message that we tell reporters and the message that we tell our friends, the most important one is, will you come out with us? And I want to make sure everyone sends this message I'm about to put in the chat. So like hold on the chat for a second so I can share this message because the chat's going fire and it's going really fast. Will you join me at our No Kings protest this weekend? If there is a group chat, a mom's chat, a dad's chat, a parent's chat, a friend's chat, a family's chat, whatever chat and group chat you're in, drop that in with the mobilized link to your local event to everybody you know. That is how we reach critical mass. That is how we get our message out as far and wide as possible, is getting every single person we know to turn out. Make sure you tell as many people as possible. There are 1,600 people on this chat. If we all turned out 10 people, that would be 16,000 people that would turn out to No Kings events. That's not nothing. That's insane. That is a really large number for some of our rural communities. 40% of No Kings events are in small or rural communities. That's huge. So make sure you're reaching out to as many folks as possible this week because that's where your message is most impactful. So Kate, I'll turn it back to you to keep this going.
Yeah, and Unic, our wonderful tech leader, Carly, paused the chat so everyone can look at that. Will you join me at our No Kings protest next weekend? Y'all, I'm a trainer for No Kings, and I realized literally last night that I hadn't done that with my community because I posted about the No Kings in my local community on my Instagram, and I had people saying like, yes, and hearting it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if these people are going. The amount of people who, when I said, will you go with me? Were like, yeah, I wasn't gonna go because I didn't want to go alone. I didn't want to go. I didn't think I'd know anyone there. It is incredible what an ask can do. And that is a 0.5-second conversation. I had no idea. I am now going with a dozen people. And just from what Unique said, I was like, you know what? I absolutely have 5 more people in my community. And I'm going to go call my brother and his girlfriend who like my Instagram posts all the time and ask them, hey, are you actually going to your No Kings? Here's why it's important. Because I know they care. So thank you, y'all. I'm so glad we had that conversation because that really is the most important. It can make such a difference. I love it. Cindy, our small town goal is to increase from 2.8% to 3.5% in my community. That's incredible. Those matter. Those numbers matter. You are building movements. And Unique, you came back. So you've got more
Yeah,
to
I
say. I
came
love
back. I just wanted to say, someone said, I want to hear more tough questions. I think one of the other tough questions I'm tracking, and I'm trying to get us through these slides so we end on time, is folks are asking, like, how do we motivate people who have lost interest, or some say it doesn't matter or won't make a difference? How do we talk to people and describe our message in a sense that folks are saying, why does this matter? When we show out in mass and we show out in 7, 9 million, 12 million people around the country, that's our message. That is how we tell our story. And when you're local on the ground and your local community has a population of 5,000 people and 3,000 people show out, that is a message in itself. Whether you say something or not, that's how you answer those tough questions. So I just want to reiterate and say, like, the most important thing you can do is show up. And the next most important thing you can do is tell your why. Every time you have a tough question where someone says, why does this matter? It matters because you care about your family. It matters because you care about your community. That's why we show out for No Kings. So, Kate, I'll leave it to you to just quickly get us through slides. I just realized that.
No worries, no worries at all. These are conversations, right? This is the best way that Unique and I can support you is through conversations. We've got some answers here for you on some of these questions. Kind of the most comparable one to what we were just talking about is this question. Is nonviolent marching enough? Is lawful marches making a difference? Like, should we be escalating? Or like it's not enough and frankly, I'm not going to do anything else, right? Like, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what makes a difference, why they should go out. Let's validate that. Let's ask some questions to them. And then there's some answers. Our power comes from these movements. We are standing firm in their chaos. Let's also talk about economic distractions. Why are you so focused on ICE and protests when people can't even afford groceries or rent right now? Now, I'll put in the chat, what are the values that these folks are most concerned about? What are the values? They're concerned about their financial security. They're concerned about what's going on in their life immediately. Maybe they're not experiencing impacts from ICE. So let's meet them where they're at because we can have that conversation next. Let's bring them along as it impacts their lives and then bring people as we go on because they are worried and this all does connect. All right. I'm scared to go to a protest, and the news makes it look like there's always violence. Y'all, I heard this one in the chat. People are scared to go. You can do what I did with my dad. What if we drive by? What does it look like? But really, at the end of the day, we want people to come out here, so let's validate them. It's normal to feel anxious when you're trying something new. But No Kings events have been overwhelmingly nonviolent, and we have safety precautions. We have security leads. We have safety plans. That said, if you're still uncomfortable, there are other ways to plug in. Why don't you just drive by? You can see what you think. And then if you're ready, park and join us. What about this one? We talked about this earlier. This isn't just for Democrats. Or is this just for Democrats? Both sides, right? You're right. It's hard when it feels like everything is everything is a struggle. We need a democracy that works for all of us. No Kings is for everyone. So there's answers, but always remember, listen, connect, validate, find those. And lastly, don't forget to set some boundaries. So, Unic, I'm going to pass it over to you. But I really wanted to get into this slide around protecting your peace, because I hear a lot of people talking about how they have struggled to have different conversations or people aren't listening. So let's talk about those kind and what we can do, how we can care for ourselves.
Sure. Depending on your event, you're going to have reporters or folks trying to talk to you. If you don't feel comfortable, just say no, thank you. That's okay. If you don't want to tell your story, if you don't want to tell your why, that's also okay. That's all about protecting your peace. That's all about making sure you're putting up your boundaries you want against folks who might have negative intentions. And that's all right, because the numbers and the individuals showing up in real life speak more loudly than anything you can say. So that's the story we're trying to tell here. And I want to go just to the next slide, Kate, thinking about the do's and don'ts. We're talking about what's happening right now. We're talking about the urgency. We're talking about us showing up in the largest nonviolent, peaceful protest in American history. This is not about partisan politics. This is not about personal attacks against people. And this is not about likely violence from others. This is about why you're showing up today. And I just want to make sure like this is clear as you're talking to anyone who might come to your event. This is a great guide, the do's and don'ts of why you were at your event and how you communicate that. I do want to take a pause. There's been a number of questions in the chat. The chat is popping. Question, is there research that we can cite to friends to convince them that protesting works? Absolutely. History shows us protest works. History shows up when we show together in mass, in nonviolent action. That is what drives positive policy for our communities, our general communities together. That is what drives us to change. What do protests even do? How do we answer that in our community? You have seen, we have had multiple wins since last April. I know it seems small. I know it seems like the power of protest may not be there with everything falling down on us, but I promise you, us continuing to show up and show out is what we need in this moment. And that is what continues to show us wins as we continue to move forward together. Folks are also asking about virtual events. We encourage everyone who is able-bodied to turn out in person. If you can turn out in person, that's what you should do. But if you can't, showing up in real life is important, but we also have several virtual options. We have a live stream. We have an action on Minecraft. If you like video games, there is going to be a Minecraft universe for No Kings. And we also have traditional ADA accessible events that are on our map already if you want to go sign up for those. Finally, so many are asking about a store. Where can I buy a t-shirt? No Kings did something intentional. The No Kings Coalition launched a store where it takes zero profit. $0 from that store go back to the No Kings Coalition, any of the organizations that have signed up. And they're also making sure they amplify labor made and American made items and merchandise in this store. So the No Kings Coalition has a store, they make zero profit from it, and it is union labor made and American made items. I'm going to drop that link in the chat so folks can see it because I think that's something important. It is not something that traditional, in past times is something that would be oh, there we go. Thanks, Kate. There's a lot of really great, I spent some money on here. There's a lot of great stuff on here. So definitely take a look at the store. Everything's shipping quickly, and this is priced at just at cost. Coalition is not making anything. This is just for making sure folks can have real merchandise. They know they're buying it from a quality maker. They're buying it from an American made, labor union made maker, and not anybody else. So yes, it's merch.nokings.org. I'll continue to share that link in the chat. Or is
All
this
right.
Dummy Kate?
That's fine. That's fine. I got it. Y'all, just real quick, we wanted to talk about how you can use social media. This isn't a place to doom scroll. We already started talking about places you can come during No Kings, but at the end of the day, this is a great place to put your why. I talked about how I have a friend who I wouldn't have gotten there if I hadn't typed out about why I was going and why it was frustrating. And I put that on my Instagram feed. It is a great place, and every time I've been so surprised by some of the people that are excited about it. And this is an opportunity. You can also post trainings, information, promote your local events, and really that question Unique put in the chat earlier, will you come to your local No Kings event? Will you come with me to ours? Any of those kinds of questions that you can ask to people and put in there with your why makes a huge difference, because some people might not realize how many are with them. All right. Also, one more thing on social media real quick. Remember, the algorithms love outrage. The algorithms love outrage, but our movements are built on hope and solidarity. So it is our job to battle that algorithm and make things work for us. So with that, we have time. Let's take one more question. Let's see.
I'm gonna look at the Q&A real quick. Hold on.
Great.
Oh, someone asked, what are we doing after No Kings? Great question. After No Kings, we're going to continue to engage in our communities. We're going to continue to ask folks to come together in community, have the conversations. And then later on May 1st, the May Day Coalition is having a collective day of action. And we invite everyone to join that collective day of action. That's a really, really great day to get involved in. So again, after Saturday, what's next? It is coming together in your community, it is bringing people together. We will send out a lot of information about that, and just wanted to share that because that was a question that came up a lot.
Thank you so much, Unique. That's a great way to end it. And y'all, we are not ending here. I want to say before we sign out that I have some homework for you. One of the number one questions that our community and friends want to know, that people here have wanted to know, is what's next? What do we do? Protest is an incredible tool, but it is not the end all be all of our answer for a just democracy that works for all of us. So we have a mass call coming up right after No Kings that we would love to see you at. We're going to put it in the email that comes out to you tomorrow from this training. And my homework for you is first, invite your friends, do that text, send it out, ask people if they want to go to No Kings with you, and then ask yourself, your neighbors, your friends, let's find out what's next. Let's find out the ways that we can make a difference. If you've got local answers for that, amazing. And if you're looking for the right place to find answers too, come to the mass call. We have people putting it in the chat right now. Carly, if you can add it in one more time. And with that, as we wrap up this in-depth training, I just want to reiterate that every time we show up, we claim our power. Every conversation you come to with an open heart and mind, that you bring people one step closer to being part of this movement or deepening their involvement in this movement, you are helping our country claim the power that we have. You are the trusted messengers for your friends, your loved ones, and your community. Thank you for doing the hard, relational work of having those conversations. So don't forget, we have lots of resources for you. You can find out where the latest events are for your community members or yourself at nokings.org. You can go to nokings.org/training starting tomorrow morning to find this training, and we're going to send you an email with all the resources. When we come together, it's going to be bigger than ever before, and we're going to say, no thrones, no crowns, no kings. Thank you all so much for being here and engaging so thoroughly tonight. Have a good night.